Squirrels are disgusting, destructive, ugly little rats. Anyone who thinks a squirrel is cute is a freaking idiot. Now here's some wrestling stuff. Welcome back to Wrestling with the Business. My name's Matt Lambert. With me, as always, is Jeremy Bodette.
Are you sleepy, man?
I'm a little exhausted. Been having some squirrel issues at my house lately.
You passed it yet?
What's that?
Have you gotten through it yet?
As of now, we have caught 3 in my house. Hopefully, that's all there is.
I left a little gift for you when I made my way out of town.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate that.
Do not adjust your sets. We are back to the normal arrangement, working remotely, but hopefully in the future we will be able to reunite for at least a couple more programs, I think, before we have to separate again. For now, back to the old way.
And quite the time for it. There's been a lot of headlines going on in the past week.
Hey gang, before we get into the latest and greatest in the world of professional wrestling, we wanted to tell you about another show we've been binging lately.
Now, if you're anything like us, you're constantly rereading the books you love, listening to your favorite song, or watching your favorite movies. But we also like to get a fresh take on the things that we know and love. Scarifire does exactly that for the horror genre of film.
Scarifire is hosted by a couple of steely-eyed missile men, aptly named the Ace and Gov. Now, these guys have extensive experience in the performance genre, whether it be music, the stage, film, or, dare I say it, the squared circle itself.
Each week, Ace and Gov train their eyes and ears on a new target of the genre, and nobody is safe. Classic, foreign, indie, slasher, and Gorno alike.
So if you've got a hot date with a complete psycho, a classic you want a fresh take on, or just some time to kill in the car on your way into work, you should check out Scarifire. Scarifyer at the link below.
Now back to the action. So let's get right into some of the important stuff going on. So what's this I've been hearing about the Maryland State Athletic Commission? There's some kind of investigation going on with a match that we talked about recently.
Yeah, this story broke about a week ago, and I don't know, like, for me, when this story broke, it kind of felt like old news. Like, I almost thought, I thought it was either old news or fake news, because it surrounds the controversy of the Moxley-Omega match way, way back from Full Gear. As our viewers may or may not remember, Matt and I did a recap of this specific match at Full Gear from the beginning of November, because it was obviously a controversial match, and it basically split the wrestling community in half. Some people thinking that it was, I think, as I put it in the video, masterpiece or abortion. Some people, thought each. And it appears that some people in the wrestling community decided to take that to a particular extreme. So this story broke across all, I don't even know if this one made it to the dirt sheets. This one went straight to the mainstream. And basically what happened is about 2 weeks, roughly, after the event took place, a gentleman by the name of Christopher Cruz took to Twitter and basically said on Twitter, hey, I'm going to ask the Maryland State Athletic Commission why they are not enforcing their regulations. And he sort of created a implication that inferred that the Moxley-Omega dust-up Lights Out match at Full Gear in Baltimore, Maryland violated some kind of rule. Now, who is Chris Cruz? Why do we care? Chris Cruz is not really a part of the mainstream wrestling community. He has been involved in it for a very, very long time. He did do commentary at WCW years and years ago, while it was still above water. But he's since worked the independent circuit. My limited exposure to him is that he respects the sport. He doesn't seem like some sort of hack. He doesn't seem like some sort of political hack. He seems like he has a lot of respect for the sport, respect for the performers and the athletes that take part in it, and just in general loves the sport. So it just strikes me as very funny. This guy would definitely fall on the side of the argument that I was pushing for during our last video. He apparently thought that it was a full-fledged abortion, so bad to the point that he felt like he had to basically bring it to the attention of the athletic commission. So
what is this guy's actual position? Like,
he's not associated with AEW at all.
Who is he
entirely
associated with?
He watched it as a fan and felt that it violated the rules and felt the need to contact the athletic commission. He's not associated with, as far as I know, he's not associated with WWE, AEW, any of those. I believe he just does commentary on some of the smaller independent circuits.
Okay.
So this sort of led me to the next question, which is, okay, what rules is he making reference to? Because wrestling matches happen in Baltimore, Maryland all the time, and I think one of the criticisms even that I shared on this channel back when we made the video was that, I mean, it looked really brutal, but the effect on the wrestlers didn't seem proportional at all. I mean, it was like it was almost cartoonish, you know? Yeah, guys are getting thrown on these, beds of barbed wire, and yeah, they're walking out with some scratches, but people are they're supposedly getting gouged, and there's really not a whole lot of blood coming out of their face, and it seemed like there was an awful lot of punishment, not a lot of physical manifestation of that punishment. And so for me, at least, it sort of took me out of the kayfabe or whatever, and it sort of, in my opinion, made it look a little bit more cartoonish. So I looked up the prohibited activities. This is Section F, the Maryland State Athletic Commission regulations. And this is a list of prohibited activities. And Matt, I just want just a quick feedback. You can just do quick yes or no. I'm going to read down through all of these. And I just want you to tell me if you feel, just put your promoter hat on here, act like you're a promoter. Okay. If you feel like you could put on even a halfway decent show, if you feel like you could sell any tickets at all, if you stayed away from these restrictions, if you abided by these prohibited actions, if you feel like you could put on a decent show. Okay, just one at a time. I'm going to run down through them. Just give me a yes or no. Okay. Yes, I can do a show without that, or no, I really need it. Okay?
Yep.
Okay. The following actions are prohibited. A, striking an opponent with a fist or using the knuckles.
No.
B, scratching or gouging the opponent.
Yes.
C, butting the opponent.
Butting?
Yeah, I believe like headbutting.
No.
D, slamming an opponent into a ring post.
Yes.
Okay. E, striking an opponent with a foreign object.
Yes.
F, kicking an opponent unless a recognized wrestling move.
No.
G, stranglehold.
No.
H, pulling hair.
Yes.
I, inhibiting breathing by covering the nose and mouth at the same time.
Yes.
J, jumping from the ring ropes onto an opponent.
No.
K, deliberately leaving the ring enclosure during a contest.
No.
Where am I? L, unsportsmanlike or physically dangerous conduct.
No.
And M, deliberately lacerating oneself or one's opponent, or by any other means introducing human or animal blood into the ring.
Yes. Now,
And then obviously part 2 just reads, a wrestler continuing to engage in prohibited activities after sufficient warning may be disqualified by the referee.
Now, to be honest, you could have a show without any one of those things you just listed, but it would be a boring as hell show.
I think you could have a show without any one.
Right.
Or 2. But how you have a show that doesn't do any of these things, right? You're going to be like, okay, I'm going to go up to the top and I'm going to hit. How many wrestlers would be prohibited from using their finishing move thanks to Rule J? Jumping from the ring ropes onto an opponent.
That's
half.
Like 90% these days.
Yeah. Right. Now it's a little bit better because now they do, all sorts of hanging DDTs and they do flips like from the standing position, like Canadian Destroyer type stuff, and they do like, power bomb variations on power bombs and suplexes and stuff. But and like what about like a 619? I mean, technically you're not jumping from the ring ropes, but you're on the ring area. And you're right, and technically you're leaving the area, right? Every single time a heel jumps out of the ring to buy a couple extra minutes, and the face goes up to the top to jump off the top ropes outside of the ring, you're out of here, buddy. Warning. Right. So, another question for you, Matt. So you've never heard these rules before. You've never seen them before. Nope. You really don't know anything about them. Do these strike you as rules that were written to regulate the professional wrestling industry?
No.
Of course not. That's because most state athletic commissions regulate every combat sport. So let's look at these again from the perspective of a boxing match. Should you be striking an opponent with your bare fist?
No.
No. Should you scratch or gouge the opponent?
No.
Should you headbutt the opponent? Should you slam them into the ring post? Should you hit them with a foreign object? Should you put them in a stranglehold or pull their hair? Should you jump from the ring ropes on top of them? Should you deliberately leave the enclosure during a contest? These were not written for professional wrestlers. These were written for boxers.
So
it's an arcane system of rules that needs to be updated. Either the state athletic commissions that choose to host or support the regulation of events within their state that are professional wrestling, if they choose to maintain that, they need to come up with a separate set of rules to dictate and guide and provide a safe environment for everyone involved. But this doesn't provide a safe environment for anybody.
Why is it then that a scripted event such as wrestling does conform to a state athletic commission?
We're getting into matters of opinion now, but, I think that wrestling is considered a combat sport. I think that way back in the day when there were a lot of BS arguments surrounding professional wrestling, a lot of it's fake, it's not real. I think that some of the leaders in the industry, I'm guessing, chose to allow this to happen to try to add a level of, in my opinion, unnecessary integrity. To say, no, we are a true combat sport. This is a real thing. If it wasn't a real thing, then why is the State Athletic Commission, XX State Athletic Commission, regulating us? Problem is that creates all kinds of issues, and it would appear that there's sort of, because this hasn't really happened before. Not really. I mean, can you think of another instance in which a state athletic commission has been sicked on a promotion as a result of doing all of these things that are very standard in the world of professional wrestling?
I know of nothing, no.
No. I mean, and there certainly haven't been any significant findings. I can't think of any promotion that's been banned, certainly a major promotion that's been banned from any state for participating in any one of these activities. I can't think of an athlete that's been banned from performing in a state as a result of performing any of these actions. I mean, the last time I can think of goes all the way back to the mass transit incident with ECW. When that kid that was like 17 lied about his experience and all that other stuff, managed to get on there and threw his weight around a little too hard, and he ended up getting juiced a little too deep, and it created a really bad scenario. But even then, people were like, well, the kid's, too young and he lied, and this, wrestling needs to be regulated. Well, this is what you get. This is where you end up when you call for regulation. So now instead of being like, okay, you have to be an adult to engage in this voluntary activity, now it's, nope, you're not allowed to, jump from the ring ropes.
So how has the investigation progressed? What's the...
Well, one interesting thing, and nothing has been publicly released as of yet. As far as I'm aware, Chris Cruz made his Twitter post about 2 weeks ago, and it broke about a week ago. Just goes to show you how many followers Chris Cruz has. And the only piece of news that I've heard is that basically he contacted the athletic commission and they went, yeah, we're already looking into it. So, it's like the worst of both worlds. It's like, not only does Chris Cruz look like a rat now, but he's not even sharing some new piece of information. Either someone already reported it to the Maryland State Athletic Commission, or they were there, they watched it happen. I mean, I just don't... How do you even sanction these athletes for this? Okay, let's say that they are in complete and total violation. Section 2, right underneath it says, a wrestler continuing to engage in prohibited activities after sufficient warning may be disqualified by the referee. So, did anyone warn the wrestlers? Is there any evidence that a member of the commission got on the radio with the referee, or spoke to one of the producers who got on the radio with the referee and said, hey, we have to throw out this spot because, whatever, the athletic commission is dictating that to be illegal? I mean, there was no sufficient warning. I mean, this makes no sense to me. I mean, this is a waste of time. It's a waste of money.
Well, AEW's in the clear. It was an unsanctioned match, so they won't get in trouble. Yeah. I mean, like the BS just keeps piling on top of itself more and more and more and more. So for me, this is terribly interesting, especially given the current political climate with what's going on right now with impeachment and everything else. To me, and again, not knowing anything about Chris Cruz and not having any reason to think that his intentions are anything but pure, it definitely smells funny. I wonder if we went back and watched the Raw or SmackDown from when they were in Baltimore, Maryland, and watched, to see if maybe perhaps there was some hair pulling, or if someone jumped from the top ropes onto an opponent, or if someone's breathing was blocked off, or if anyone performed a stranglehold, or if anyone did a headbutt, or scratched or gouged an opponent, or hit him with their fist. It's like, this is a can of worms that we don't want opening. This doesn't end well. Either we get this is what happens, because they still want to go. They still want to go to Maryland. Mm-hmm. It's still a great place to host a wrestling match. So now every show in Maryland is just going to be crap. Or worse, the other states take heed, precedent gets set, and now someone sees a show in Mississippi, or a show does particularly well in Mississippi, and I don't know, I mean, if I'm a competitor, if I'm the WWE, and I see a competitor trying to set themselves apart by trying something experimental or something new, then I might be inclined to maybe call my buddy down at the Mississippi State Athletic Commission and just, let him know that I saw something that really concerns me. It sets a really, really, really bad precedent. I really hope that I have a really hard time believing, with all his experience in the industry, that Chris Cruz looked at that match and went, yep, that is physically dangerous. Nobody should be comfortable. Those wrestlers are clearly doing this, not of their own free will. Clearly they've been pressured to do this and they don't want to be doing this. And someone needs to step in and correct this. Is that it, or is it he just wanted to get some eyes on him?
I have no idea. I guess if I was to try to give him the benefit of the doubt, I would say that he was trying to bring attention to how ridiculous the rules are to drive change. So then the light would be shown on these ridiculous rules, and there would be some sort of change, either a new set of rules for professional wrestling events, or a precedent gets set, or at least gets not set, because the precedent is already set to basically ignore these rules, but a precedent gets reinforced. But can you imagine if they come after AEW for this, and Tony Khan is standing inside some Baltimore court?
Yeah,
it's absolutely ridiculous. You're basically making it illegal to have a professional wrestling event. It boggles my mind. I think it's a shame, but I will certainly be following the story. I think that potentially this story could have massive ramifications for professional wrestling going forward, because you could see a scenario where professional wrestling promotions just say, okay, well, I guess I'm not going to Maryland anymore. Okay, well, I guess I'm not going to Washington anymore. I guess I'm not going to Vermont anymore. I guess I'm not going to Illinois anymore. I guess I'm not going anywhere anymore. Because they don't want to deal with the hassle. Yeah, or they just don't want to deal with the hassle. Or it creates an unnecessary burden. AEW is in a unique position because they have great financial backing. WWE is the gigantic behemoth. Companies like WWE benefit from the extra regulation. They can deal with this type of stuff. They can. There's techniques that they can throw money at to solve this problem. AEW, I don't think it has quite as much flexibility as WWE does, but they certainly have deep enough pockets that there are some things that they can do. But what about the independent circuits? What about the guys that are just squeaking by, that are doing it for the love of it?
Yeah,
what are you going to have a pre-show safety meeting? You're going to tell everybody, okay, guys, welcome to Baltimore, Maryland. We're really happy to be here. Let me just run through the list of prohibited activities. What do you do, Matt? Can you name for me a move that doesn't break one of these rules? I guess a suplex.
Yeah. The kind of moves you saw in the 50s with Luthez and Karl Gotch and all them.
I don't know. Would a chop? I guess a chop.
It's an open hand. That works.
It's an open hand, but hey, don't run your nails across them. That's scratching or gouging.
Keep those nails trimmed.
Yep, you got to keep them short. Unsportsmanlike or physically dangerous conduct. That's my favorite one.
So no heels. It's all baby
no
face,
heel.
baby face.
No heels. Nope. No heels. It really doesn't sit well with me. I sincerely hope that this is nothing major, and that it certainly doesn't set a precedent going forward. I think that this could potentially, in the long run, undo a lot of the good that having AEW inside this competitive market is doing. So we'll be following it. We'll be following it for you guys. We'll give you updates. Stay tuned to the channel, and very rarely do I wish for failure in the world of professional wrestling, but this is definitely one that I'm hoping falls very flat. I'm hoping that this just pitters away and we never hear about it again.
All right, so be sure to leave your comments below. Let us know what you think about this Maryland State Athletic Commission investigation and these rules that they seem to be abiding by. Tell us what you think about it. And be sure to follow us on all our social medias. If you want to find out what's going on with my squirrel situation, leave a comment and let me know. And in the meantime, always remember to keep kayfabe, follow the money, and we'll keep wrestling with the business.
Boy, this show's all about you, huh?
Yeah.
People aren't going to have any idea what they're going to think that Chris Cruz is the squirrel.